I recently spent a few weeks traveling across East Europe. And as I boarded the train from Kyiv railway station for heading back to the safer territory of Poland, my mind was quite overwhelmed by the heady blend of the 10 days spent in Ukraine. Now, in these 10 days, I experienced war, resilience, exhaustion, death, devastation, sorrow, memory, politics, diplomacy, and amidst all, the pervasive stain of indifference. Why do I say so? This indifference, I realized, emerged from basically two kinds of reference points. Now, externally, from the world's growing desensitization to the relentless reports of missiles falling, lives lost, and cultural treasured completely destroyed. And internally speaking, it comes from the numbing endurance of a protracted war, where surviving hardship while carrying the haunting absence of lost loved ones becomes the order of the day. But amid the anguish and numbness, I also witnessed their transformation into art and humanitarian efforts. And these two are the vital forces that sustain humanity in the darkest of all times. Now, on the one hand, numerous international platforms have shared stories of Ukrainian poets, playwrights, and musicians who joined the military since 2022, since the war began, composed their final creative works in the trenches, and ultimately sacrificed their lives. But in India, we hardly discuss that. So during my journey across the war-torn country, I saw an unyielding drive to produce art and provide humanitarian aid. And this, dear reader, is the focus of today's piece. Now, let me tell you a little bit about some special Indians in Ukraine. One of the most profound responses of a society at war is the creation of wartime art and the collective effort to support fellow citizens. Now, Ukraine is a battlefield in ways few could have expected, but it has also become a stage for these endeavors, echoing the resilience of many human societies before it. Now, as an Indian, I found it especially striking to encounter such contributions from unexpected quarters. Now, among them was the remarkable story of Rajiv Gupta, an Indian-origin industrialist and philanthropist, and the founder of the Kusum Group of Industries. Now, over the past 3 decades, his company has grown to become the largest Indian undertaking in Ukraine and also one of the most significant ventures by an Indian in Eastern Europe. You can Google him, in fact. Now, Rajiv Gupta is unarguably one of the most well-known Indians there. Since the war's onset, he has donated approximately $500 million towards humanitarian relief efforts. He supports NGOs, healthcare facilities, and also civilians. Now, his office kitchen has operated as a community kitchen. His buildings offer bunkers that can shield hundreds from devastating missile attacks. And he also maintains vast stocks of life-saving medicines ready for distribution. In recognition of his contributions, he was honored with the award of the President of Ukraine in 2023. And yet, there is so much more to his story, which I will tell you shortly. Now, for the record, several other Indian-origin entrepreneurs have also made remarkable contributions to humanitarian relief efforts in Ukraine. Now, one such figure I met there is Dr. Nagendra Parashar, and Dr. Parashar is affectionately known as the Indian Angel. Now, he has about 10 prosthetic centers across Ukraine, and through these centers, he has been providing prosthetic limbs to wounded soldiers. Additionally, he has delivered several consignments of prosthetics on behalf of the Indian government, which has ramped up our country's broader humanitarian efforts. Dr. Parashar's pride can really be felt when he recounts how the 100% made in India prosthetic limbs, which are manufactured in his factory back home, are shipped to Ukraine and then distributed free of charge. His voice swells with emotion when I asked him about what really drives him. And he credited the ideal of Vasudhaiv Kutumbakam, or the idea that world is one family. And this, he says, is his guiding philosophy. Now, idealism aside, his daughter Anjali plays a crucial role, managing Kyiv's largest prosthetic center with ingenuity and dedication. So I went to meet Anjali, And during my visit, her team walked me through the process of delivering high quality prosthetics to a growing number of injured soldiers in record time. Now, as we were speaking, a sudden power outage interrupted our conversation. But before I could react, dozens of cell phone torches lit up, and the discussion continued seamlessly. Now, interesting, because in the dim light, faces and shadows entwined, voices steady yet wary, while the wounded sat quietly, their expressions distant yet serene, as if caught between reality and a dream. In a nearby room, soldiers with new prosthetics played soccer, adjusting their nerve responses to their artificial limbs, a kind of a bittersweet testament to resilience and adaptability. As I prepared to leave, I noticed a young soldier whose name was Dimitri sitting near the exit. I gestured, asking if it was okay to smoke because it was quite cold outside. Of course, Dimitri understood. He smiled, and for a brief moment, he seemed like any other 20-year-old, unburdened, full of potential. But then the weight of what he had endured lingered in the silence. I found myself at a loss for words, and frankly, my experiences were inadequate to capture the depth of his reality. Now, where someone like Rajiv truly struck a unique chord was beyond his massive humanitarian aid efforts, where he and like-minded Indian origin entrepreneurs like Dr. Nagendra Parashar, I just told you about, are making India and Indians so proud. Now, Rajiv also possesses an infectious artistic sensibility. He is an art curator with a keen eye, and his impressive multi-story office in suburban Kyiv is a testament to this passion. You know, his office walls are decorated with custom-made paintings, mostly oil on canvas and mixed media, and his formidable collection includes lots of sketches and watercolors from wartime Ukraine. As I explored his remarkable office, moving from one room to another, I was captivated by a striking discovery. You know, he has a large studio on one floor, which is filled with an unusual assortment of wartime relics. Now, this is not an ordinary art studio. It showcases a collection of wartime debris. For example, intercepted drone fragments, BM-21 Grad rocket parts, diffused landmine casings, and other remnants of Russian military hardware since 2022. Now, these objects are transformed into evocative art pieces by young Ukrainian artists, and this offered a really powerful commentary on war. Now, just to illustrate, one landmine casing depicted a tank battle under a swarm of ominous drones with black smoke curling into the grey sky. A drone remnant was painted in a bold Eastern European palette, inscribed with the words like freedom and love in both English and Ukrainian. Rocket fragments were gilded in brilliant gold, embellished with intricate Slavic patterns. On one metal cover, a famous autocrat's face had been turned into that of an ape. I think you can guess who I'm referring to. Anyway, so that was a sardonic political statement in my opinion. Another piece featured a 122 shell depicting a young girl gazing at her stylized reflection as vibrant poppies bloomed beneath her. So I saw a huge variety, from eagles and ghosts in modernized Guernica patterns to couples kissing, girls stripping, and pets with military gear staring straight into the eyes of the beholder. These empty shells told haunting stories of the fortunate as well as the forsaken. Themes of human fragility under the shadow of nuclear war emerged through diverse styles: dry humor, sleek modernity, avant-garde abstraction, and chilling depictions of desensitized existence. Now, the featured artists were some of the Ukraine's finest artists, I was told. Names like Vasily Salogov, Anton Popernyak, Koterlin Rostislav, Petro Antip, and many more graced the collection. I was really impressed, and when I asked how many more artists he intended to curate, Rajiv simply shrugged and remarked that collecting art kept him sane amidst the chaos. Indeed, I reflected, it did seem like a profound way to endure. Later that night, as soft November rain cloaked the city, I read about the folk and classical elements of Ukrainian visual art from the cozy confines of my hotel room. And I still remember one line that read, "Realism and futurism intertwined to depict surrealistic scenes." So true it was. Revisiting the photos I had taken at Rajiv's office, I saw those artistic elements brought to life. His astounding personal collection captured the essence of defiance and resilience on canvas, which, of course, is a political statement and a cultural archive, preserving the perseverance and anguish of a people for posterity. So, how would I conclude this particular piece? The question of territory, borders, and neutrality remains unresolved as the Ukraine war has seen a sharp escalation in the last week. Kyiv on the one hand continues to call for additional air defenses, long-range missiles, and increased ammunition, while Western nations on the other hand, and despite differing views on escalation and managing Russia, appear to be ramping up their support, which is particularly true in the case of the US. In chronicling wars, one often encounters extraordinary acts of resilience and brilliance that demand to be told and shared. While wars are waged on battlefields and debated at diplomatic tables, their impact seeps deeply into the daily lives of those who endure them. Ukraine, in many ways, lays itself bare to the world each day. Its stories, diverse and poignant, reflect every shade of human existence, marked indelibly by the trials of conflict and the resilience of those who lived through it. So, dear viewer, this was my second piece from the Travels Across Ukraine. The link to the article is given in the description box, and the photos you see in the video are all taken by me during the visit. I will be back with the final one in this series. Until then, stay tuned.